My name is Simcha Sheldon, and I'm very happy to be here tonight. And I'll tell you why. Because this is the sort of fulfillment, I would say, not culmination, but I would say it's the fulfillment of an idea I had when I was sitting in your seat 2 years ago when I took the Modiin class. After I had already done business for a number of years in Israel, I heard about Modiin. I said, well, this is interesting, I'd like to know what it is. So I took the Modiin class, and I said to myself, there's something missing. And the piece that I thought was missing is what I hope to give you tonight. Okay, I'm going to give you a brief background of who I am. I am licensed in Israel as a clinical psychologist, medical psychologist, hypnotherapist. I'm licensed in America as a family therapist, marriage counselor. But I did business consulting for many years, the psychological aspect, whether it be motivation, psychological issues, management, stress management, communication, sales, marketing, writing copy for advertising, all these different things that are related, the interface between psychology and business, how to handle success, how to handle failure, etc. We'll talk about a lot of these different things tonight. I've been an advisor to major corporations, like a corporation that owns hospitals and health centers around the United States, to nonprofit organizations, to educational organizations, and also to individual entrepreneurs who are looking to build a business. So, I also have a strong background in education. I'm a fellow of the Wireline Senior Educators Fellowship Program, and taught university and lectured, etc. So I came here with resources, and I want you to utilize me to ask me whatever it is that you want to ask that's related to psychology and business, and I'll do my very best to answer your questions. I asked Judy to send you all an email giving you an opportunity to choose what you'd like me to speak about. Israeli business mentality. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything particular about Israeli business mentality that irks you, interests you, challenges you? Can I tell you something right away?
Yeah.
One of my first entrepreneurial things was, aside from when I was in high school, I was a musician and band leader. And when I was doing that, I looked in the newspaper for every wedding announcement, every engagement, and I contacted everybody and sold them the music before they even booked the hall.
Wow.
Okay, so just a quick, I'm very much into tachlis, okay? So, 144, they have an engagement notice. Jay Leno does the headlines. No, seriously, I was living in upstate New York, and the local paper, they had...
Yeah, but how do you get there?
I called up information.
What they work for, they tell you everything.
No, I wasn't prying, I called up information. Yes. And I said, congratulations, I understand that, but I'm sure you have wedding invitations in the local Modiin paper, whatever, where... Just an idea. I'm just saying, we'll talk about that. But I'm just saying that I'm going to put in here and there not only psychological things, but tachlis things. But it's a psychological issue. Why is it a psychological issue? Hi.
Hello.
It's a psychological issue. Can you, okay, we'll go back and forth. That's fine. It's a psychological issue because it takes a certain kind of personality who's willing to do that. Somebody else is more introverted will say, I can't do that, I can't just make a cold call. And somebody will say, wow, that's an interesting opportunity. So we'll get to that during the evening. It's a matter of psychological personality. What kind of business is Modiin for you? Yitzhak, that's you, right? You asked that in your email, right? To know how to make a decision, what kind of business is Modiin? What's the right match between personality, style, and when you talk about Modiin, you have personality style, you might have psychological advantages or strengths or fears or blocks. You might have your values and what you like to do. You want to be a nonprofit, you want to be a very profit. Here's a difference between psychological perspective. I have 3 ideas, that's the problem. Versus, I have 3 ideas, wow, I have lots of opportunity. Okay? If you take the first perspective, and this could be about anything. I have, how am I going to decide who's going to be the vendor for this? How am I going to decide where am I going to put my advertising money? I have so many choices, okay? looking at things as pressure, as I have this big thing on my head or whatever, how am I going to decide? I'm overwhelmed, or looking at it as, wow, Baruch Hashem, there's more than one thing on the menu in this restaurant, and I'll evaluate what there is, and I'll make a good choice. That's the difference between you breathing and not breathing, basically. And because I'm a medical psychologist, I will tell you that if you want to be successful in business, you have to take care of your physical health as well as deal with psychological issues, because if you're missing days because you're stressed out, that affects your business. So one of the things I'm going to talk about tonight is how to create body, mind, emotional states that are going to help you to be successful, because you need all of them. And I have to tell you, this is amazing to me. Talk about cultural differences, right? America finally got it in their head, probably 20 years ago, I remember, that they were going to stop with the sick days and start health days. Because people subconsciously thought they had to get sick to take a break. Then they missed more. But I said, hey, I want a health day, I'm going to go skiing. One of my patients yesterday, he's a teacher, says, I'm taking a day off, I'm going skiing. He's going to have more productivity when he comes back than if he had the flu to take the day off. Okay? So it's very, very important to make sure that you're in a healthy place physiologically, physically, that you're getting exercise, that you're eating, that you're sleeping, that if you know, who knows what Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you learned that in Psych 101?
Yeah.
Okay? That it's really true in terms of being successful in business. Because if you're wiped out emotionally or in your head, or you were watching the Super Bowl till 4 o'clock in the morning, the next day your focus is not going to be the same. Okay, good. I'm going to interrupt you only because this is supposed to be a 10-hour course and I have an hour and a half, okay?
Yeah.
And obviously it's not an hour and a half course. That's one of my topics that I had to cover tonight. It was on the sheet, but I wasn't going to cover it because it wasn't asked for. But now it came up. Personal dreams and success in business. That was one of my topics. Okay? And that's an issue for people because they're not always the same. If your dream is to be a rock star, but you can't sing, you're not going to make a living at it. But you might be having fun in karaoke bars, okay?
But they say when you're making aliyah, they say to you, come to Israel with your profession and come to Israel with something you like to do, because then you've got more options in terms of finding work, because you can either work in your profession or in something you like to do.
That's right, but it doesn't mean that necessarily that you like to.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Wait, but are you saying that was bad advice?
Sorry,
Are you saying that was bad advice?
You don't want to try and bribe the guy at this point.
No, I'm saying that even if you have a dream or whatever, you can come to Israel.
But one second. Let me be the focus here a second, okay? There's a difference between a personal dream and what you like to do. She used the word dream. It's a very big difference. It's in the Torah, God chose Bezalel to build the Mishkan. He had Machshevet Lev. He had the unity between where his head was at and where his heart was at. And he was able to do something unique. And I think it's a great blessing when you're able to do what's in your heart and find a way to make money doing it. But I'm not disagreeing that you should come with something you like, but you know something? If you don't have something you like to do, like when I was in college and I was working at the post office boxing mail from 10 at night to 6:30 in the morning, I didn't like doing that. That was something I needed to do to finish my college education, so I did something that I didn't like. So there's also transitional phases that you'll have while you're getting your business plan together. It might mean that if you choose a certain business, you might have to spend a year doing marketing research to know how to enter in the marketplace. Okay? But I'm happy and I like to be very personal in my presentation, but I want to also keep it somewhat in roulotte and organized, okay? So let me get back to what you're saying about dreams, okay? What you did is you focused on your question, on your issue in a particular way, right? That's a psychological phenomenon. You focused in a particular way to be able to get clarity for yourself and truth, correct?
Yeah.
What did you do to do that? What was your process?
Took a while.
It took a minute.
right here, but
What happened in that minute? Because up until that minute, you came and you said that's your issue. Something happened. And if you know what works for you, it could be a great asset.
Mhm.
What did you do?
I kind of thought of the pros and cons very fast.
Shikul dat. You put the issues, you put the truth right here. Here's the pro, here's the con.
It came to me fast because I've been thinking about it.
Good, good. But something motivated you to
Yeah.
take that
Sometimes when
extra
you
step.
ask something direct,
Okay, that's right.
it kind of
You
shocks
have
you
to
into
know,
what
you have to know what the
realize,
direct, exactly right.
Yeah.
You have to know what the direct questions are to ask yourself and to ask others to be able to make the right decision. That's one of the principles. Direct communication with yourself, so you know what the inner question is, and then clear communication with others to get the information you need. Well, I'm happy that you got something right now for yourself. You should have a lot of hatzlacha. One of the issues in making business decisions, which became very clear to me when I had a heart attack a year ago, is what your values are. Is it really, how much money do you really need versus how much do you really want to spend time with your family versus how much time do you need to spend with other things? Now, I like to have a certain lifestyle and a certain amount of money, but I cut down my practice after my heart attack because I wanted to spend more time with my family. Now, it's important, if you're in a situation where you can't pay the rent unless you're working 12 hours and then another 4 hours, which is 16 hours, is that your situation that, in other
It's
words,
a temporary situation because my wife just gave birth.
okay, so that's
Oh,
temporary.
that's
Oh, 3 months ago, so.
But here tonight, we're not talking about special 3-month or 5-month situations. We're talking about the bigger picture. So in the bigger picture, when you said, I have a hard time with balance, I'm just listening to what you're saying to me, is it overall or just in the last 3 months?
Overall, I focus on one thing at a time, and that can often be to the exclusion of other things.
Okay. So that's what I would say, in what category of issue would you put that? What kind of problems?
In the case of operating a business, that's spending far too much time optimizing technology instead of, because that's obviously easier for me,
Okay.
than working on a marketing plan.
I'm going to ask you to do something, and you don't need to tell me what answer comes to you, okay? Would you close your eyes a moment? Take a deep breath. Go inside your heart and mind and ask yourself, you don't need to tell me the answer, ask yourself, what do you need to do first in order to have more balance in terms of how you spend your time, so that you'll have more time for your family as well as time for your business? Let me know when the answer comes to you. Done? Okay. Do you want to share it, or do you want to keep it to yourself?
Work from home.
Work from home.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to tell you something about working from home to all of you, which is also in my list of things tonight. I work from home, but I have a separate entrance for my clinic. Before I was able to do that, when I first made Aliyah, I was working from a room inside my home. It was not fair to my children, it was not fair to my wife, it was not fair to me. And on the one hand, you think that you have independence and flexibility, but if you're not careful, it's extremely disruptive, and it's very difficult to find where the gavul is, where the boundary is between work time and home time. And I have so many patients now who work from home that that's the issue. The wife is complaining that, well, every other minute he's on the computer because he just has another phone call to make or another Skype meeting or whatever. So on the one hand, and it's not a sexist thing, it could be the other way around, that the wife is on the computer. Something happened yesterday, so it came to mind. So it's very important that when you are working for yourself and you think that that gives you a lot of independence and freedom of time and things like that, on the other hand, nobody is imposing any kind of boundaries on you. And so you might end up working, like last night, I was working at 12 o'clock on the project. But last Thursday and Wednesday was going over my kids' tests with them. So it's important to know how to balance that out. Okay, but I'm happy that you found an answer for yourself, and that might be a good answer for you, as long as, again, and the reason why I'm saying this specifically to you is because you're coming with an issue of balance. So just know that when you start working at home, it doesn't solve the problem unless you're careful about being balanced in that environment. In terms of balance, you said, well, if I had 100 people following me around, was it 100 or 1,000?
I was being facetious, but yeah.
But you might need one or two who can share your practice with you, who can share your business with you, and have people who are on call so other people can have a life. That might be an answer of balance. Right. Who has confidence issues?
Everybody.
Everyone.
I don't think it's fear of failure. I think it's also fear of success.
Okay, we're going to get to fears in a moment. I'm going to cover fears tonight too. Very, yeah. What would you say is the antidote in general? I want to hear from you guys. What's the antidote to, what was the word you said? Not confidence, lack of confidence? Okay, what's the antidote for lack of confidence?
Success.
Right. And the only way you can get success is through experience. Okay? There's no way, unless you're like, I don't know, to me it's not realistic for a person to be confident in being able to do something unless they've done it. A person can be confident that they have the skills and tools in their head to figure out how to do things also. But until they had the experience to know that they were able to do problem solving and figuring things out, then they didn't know either that they could do that. So experience, I'm going to say lack of confidence. In fact, I wrote 3 things. I'll come to it later. I don't want to go looking for it. But one of them was definitely experience. Okay, because once you have experience, I don't know if I can, I'm not confident I can float. Well, unless you jump in the water, you'll never know. Okay? So confidence is very much experience-based. Another 2 things about confidence is that sometimes somebody's confidence has been totally shot because they had a traumatic experience. They tried something, they put all their head into it, all their heart into it, maybe all their money into it, who knows what, and it went for a bust, or somebody ripped you off, or somebody whatever. Okay, and then all of a sudden, wow, where was my mind? Am I really thinking, okay, how could have I been so stupid? How could I have made such a mistake? Whatever, and then your confidence can go, boom. Okay? So it could be a tremendous failure or trauma that creates a lack of confidence. And then there's a third thing, which I'll talk about more in just a few minutes. Because I like to know, I'd like to make a connection with you first before I go through my notes. And that is, many of us have gotten horrible messages that are playing in our subconscious mind about how we can't and how we're not. And that plays havoc with confidence as well. Okay, and I'll talk about that tonight. But I think that confidence, who wants me to talk about confidence tonight and getting rid of fears and stuff like that? You want me to cover that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. As I would just like to have consensus with it. It's important. See, I'm getting experience now, and I want you to know that a lot of what I do is modeling when I'm teaching, okay? I'm getting experience in order for me to feel confident that I can give you tonight what you want, and you'll be happy. If I don't get the experience that I'm getting now, so somebody might have had a great idea that nobody cares except for one person. Oh, wow, that was so interesting, and I got so excited about it. Wow, and that person loved it, and everybody else went to sleep. Okay? So you have to get experience. It's very important. Okay, great. Thank you. Do you trust people?
No.
Okay, that's it.
I
If
know.
you don't trust people, you can't have a partner.
Right.
Right?
So
Because
that-
if you don't trust them, you have to be with them all the time, then why have a partner? You might as well do it yourself.
Right. But I need a partner, and I know I need one. So.
Okay, who else has issues of trust, not just with partners, but somebody tell me another trust issue besides partners, please.
What happens if you have overtrust issues?
That's also a trust issue.
It's a problem.
Trust customers, vendors, suppliers, right? I mean, I have to trust that Judy's going to pay me for tonight's lecture, right?
For me, it's a cultural thing because I'm not used to this culture. So how do you trust what you don't know?
You cannot trust what you don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
When you don't know, then there are other things that you can trust instead. You can never trust what you don't know, because what you don't know is not trustable. But you can trust yourself to figure things out and get the information and the skills and the knowledge that you need. For those of you who believe in God, you can trust God, that God will help you out in the right way, which I think is very important for those of you who believe in God. You can trust perhaps in the goodness of humanity. That doesn't mean you'll never get screwed. Okay? But if you're going to be in life always worrying who's out to get you, then you might as well not get up in the morning.
Yeah.
It's very, very important to be able to know, and we're not talking about perfectionism, because anybody who's a perfectionist, don't open up your business, because nothing is perfect in this world. Okay? When I talk, I'm not talking 100%. But if you're 80%, it's cool, it's great. 80% success, that's success. Okay? Now, the most important thing to trust is your own shikul da'at. To trust your own ability to be able to make judgments. Now, that doesn't mean that you should be your own brain surgeon. It means you should know how to find the best brain surgeon if you need one. To be able to utilize resources, which gets back to trust again. Now, if I'm going to say that you have to be able to trust yourself, that you know where and how to get the information or the knowledge or the skills that you need, then you raise the question again, trust. How can I trust that this other person who I'm going to help me really wants to help me? And that goes back again to the first thing. Can you trust yourself to read people correctly? Now, some people are sociopaths, and it's very difficult to read them. You could be a clinical psychologist for 20 million years, you can't read them. Okay? But most people are not like that. Does that mean that there isn't one or two that might show up in your life? Maybe. Okay? Maybe. It happens to be once in a while. Somebody calls, Dr. Sheldon, I'd like an appointment. It's very, very important. I see you as soon as possible. I turn things inside out to make space for them, and they don't call, they don't show up. They promised me they're going to show up. Does that happen? Yes. Does it happen rarely? Yes. Nothing's perfect. But you have to know that you're able to read people well. Now, coming to Israel, and my wife told me today, make sure you really deal with the issues of cultural differences, because that's a very important thing. It's difficult, because we deal with it. My wife is French and I'm from New York. So, okay? It takes time to learn the ropes. It takes time to get the nuances. And don't be too hard on yourself in terms of expectations that you're going to be able to know how to do this. I mean, I was in practice for 20 years in LA. People knew who I was. I had a multidisciplinary health center in LA. I had a staff of people working for me. And I was the senior director of a nonprofit community counseling center. I came to Israel at the age of 48. Thank God it was 1 year before Nefesh B'Nefesh, but I had this great fellowship at Bar Ilan that was paid for. And then I'm saying, wow, man, here it is, I'm in Israel. I was on television shows. I was on radio in LA as a specialist, doctor, a psychologist. Nobody knows who the heck I am. I don't have a license. I don't know the language. Talk about insecurity. Okay? But if I were to have the expectation, well, Simcha, come on, you can do it. Just keep it like that. Hey, I'd be in a depression if I put that kind of pressure on myself. You have to go la'at. My first lecture that I gave in Modiin in 2000 to teachers, I was wearing contact lenses and I put drops in my eyes. I had a bigger bottle than usual. And they said, what are you doing? I said, Yesh li adashim be'inayim shel. That means I have beams in my eyes. Because adashim is beams and adashot are contact lenses. And they all laughed at me. And it was my very first experience giving a talk in front of teachers. What can you do? But last month I gave a talk in front of 200 doctors at the Daniel Hotel. I couldn't have gotten that when I came here. It takes patience, it takes time. I'm writing for medical magazines now, but I can't write it in Hebrew, so they translate it for me. There are workarounds. There are people, when I had to get my license to be a hypnotherapist, some guy who didn't even know, an orthopedic surgeon, said, you know, somebody did something really good for me. I'm going to help you translate it for free just as a favor. So there are people in Israel, you know, some people don't like Israelis, they don't like Israel. My wife and I were going to a wedding in Yerushalayim. We stopped at a red light. Wherever this place was, Rachel. Some kid got out of the car and said, here, let me in your car, I'll take you right there. There's also amazing chesed. There's amazing giving in Israel. And from a psychological and I would say transpersonal, spiritual perspective, and also psychological, metaphysical perspective, I would say, you get what you put out. And your expectations and what comes right back to you. And if you want to find beautiful, wonderful people who will help you, they will. You know, in this whole system here, I found somebody who was the biggest pain in the butt to deal with, and then there's Judy, who's a pleasure to deal with. You have these kinds of people and those kinds of people. And the idea is to get positive energy and know that you know, I remember I was speaking to my friend Jeff, he's a radiologist at Tel Shomer. This was like 8 years ago when I was feeling mamash. There was a time that I mamash cried. I was crying, how am I going to make a living in Israel? After being a specialist. He said, Simcha, remember, Aliyah, because I said I have other dreams also. I'm also a musician and a composer and I do other things. He said, Simcha, wasn't Aliyah one of your biggest dreams since you were a kid? One of your biggest dreams came true. And you have to realize that, to remember, to remind yourself, to give yourself strength, to give yourself encouragement, to give yourself hakarat hatov, to give yourself a pat on the back. Yeah, I am doing great. And you know something, I want to tell you something very, very important. Don't ever forget that all the skills and all the talent and all the power and all the success and goodness and good qualities that you had in South Africa, in London, and wherever it was, you still have. It's true that you're not getting that same feedback, saying, wow, you know, you're really successful, oh, you're really good, oh, we really appreciate you. You're not getting the feedback. What a test to be able to have self-esteem and self-confidence without getting the feedback. And it's like a spiritual meditation. I mean, it's a psychological mountain to climb. I know it because I did it. And you have to keep working at it. And by the way, I don't give my cell phone to my patients, just my family and close friends. You have to keep your space, and you have to make sure that you set up for yourself when you're going through this big project of building a business, that you set up and make sure that you have loving, supportive relationships. You know, sometimes I used to call up Judy just to say hello, because I wanted to speak to somebody who was sweet and nice. That's in business, that's in marketing. You have to have chevra. You have to have people who share your values. I used to watch Jay Leno before going to sleep just to be able to feel that connection to what I was used to laugh before I go to sleep. Watch the headlines. Not the news headlines that gives you trauma. Watch Jay Leno headlines. But it's very, very important that you create for yourself an inner psycho-emotional, spiritual, physiological environment and an outer one that is your home. Even if you're in a foreign place, that you make sure that you find that time to sit with your spouse, your children, whomever it is, and say, you know, I just want to be at peace and feel okay. Tell me something good about myself. Please tell me something good about me. I'm feeling insecure. And to have somebody who'll do that. Say, yeah, you know, I made Aliyah. Most people don't have the guts to do that. You think you don't have guts? You're here. Are you kidding?
That's true.
Right? And that's mamash true. It's mamash true. And it's so important to have that morale and that inner strength. Because when you have that, then you can really focus and not get confused and not get overwhelmed and not be afraid. And if you're afraid, like the Wizard of Oz said to the cowardly lion, courage is not being afraid. Courage is doing it even when you are afraid. And it's okay to be afraid. And it's okay to feel lost. What the heck am I doing in Israel? Like in this, you know. But it's okay. It's not like in the 60s when you couldn't get toilet paper. You have everything you need in Israel. Okay? But that's like really important to nurture yourself, to nourish yourselves. Okay? The question is, how do you utilize your head and your experience in life to create strategies for problem solving? Okay? So when I look at your situation, I say, okay, let's sit on it, shuffle the deck, okay? And say, well, it would be really good to get to, I'd like to ask if you're not doing show and tell in the middle, because it's distracting for me and for you. Even to the point that you don't know I'm speaking to you. So if I can ask, just not the hand, not the sentence around, not to be offending anybody, but just it's distracting. So the question is if you can find some key people who work in the system, who you can take out for lunch, then you get to learn the system. one of the things that Sophie said to me today is you should include the following idea, which is very, very important. Make sure that the vibes you're giving off to people, because you might have trust issues or you might think they're stupider than you or whatever, isn't giving back to you negative energy. And I've seen it time and time again, people who come to Israel and things move fairly easily and smoothly, and other people who have an attitude, and even if it's not a bad attitude, but it's a fear that, or a lack of trust, that it gets projected sometimes just in a very unconscious way, and then people who might be responding to you positively will be offended, maybe even unconsciously, and just keep walking and not want to help you. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again with people because you know, the world has a lot of good and it has evil. And some people tend to magnetize more of one than the other. And you might want to look at that inside yourself. I'm not making any judgments about you, I don't know who you are, but I'm just saying when I hear that dynamic, you might want to check out. There are a lot of people, including the electrician who says, I'll be there tomorrow at 2, who doesn't show up. There are a lot of people who don't show up. I'm still waiting for him. And people who don't show up.
2 weeks.
And a lot of people who say things, it's like vaporware, as if they exist when they don't even exist. And they promise you all kinds of things. Okay? And it's happened to me, and they'll look you right in the face and they'll say, no, it's absolutely okay. And it's not. Okay? So again, it's marketing research. Okay? I know that some people have more positive experiences and some people have more negative experiences. There are people who book speakers and then screw them and they don't even tell them. I knew that I could trust Judy. That's why I offered to come here tonight. And I'm here, and Judy and I made an agreement, and I'm here. I gave 2 lectures for Modiin, and I gave the 2 lectures, and that's it. And there are other people who cancel on you, or say one thing and they don't deliver. Both things exist, and I'm just saying to you that if it was true that everybody was having your experience, then that would be one thing, but that's not the reality. The reality is that some people have wonderful accountants and wonderful lawyers and wonderful suppliers, and other people don't. I agree with you that one has to be very careful, but it's not true that there's nobody in Israel that's not going to screw you. Sometimes a person, and this is what I recommend to all of you, you have to have very good evaluation skills when it comes to people. You have to be able to know how to read their faces and read their tone of voice and also find out who else worked with them. It's on the Modiin list all the time, right? Any positive or negative comments about so-and-so? Any positive or negative comments about so-and-so? I'm not for that because a lot of love and heart comes from that. I know it's a shame that it shouldn't happen. I don't like that. But there are ways of checking people out. I needed to get a glass window fixed in our house. And the guy came yesterday from Yishpo Glass. And he warned me that in a particular place, when you have bidud glass, they don't put the powder inside, and then you're screwed in the winter and you get fog in your glass. So I have to know, is he fooling me or is it really true? Don't be naive. But also, don't think that there aren't good people, because there are very good people out there. And it's a big bracha to be able to work with good people. And it's like hell if you're working with bad people. And part of it is to know what kind of energy are you putting out, and what the environment is. Sometimes to get something done, you have to raise your voice, like in the movie Terms of Endearment, when she wanted to get medication for her daughter. And at other times, you have to say, wow, you have a really beautiful office. It's nice to be here. I'm wondering if you could help me out with something. When you look at this inventory, it can help you in 2 ways. One is it's important to know what your strengths are. And don't take them for granted, It's important that you know what your strengths are so that you can utilize them, so that you can have self-esteem and feel good about yourself. It could motivate you. And to also know what are the chisraot, what is it that you're missing. Because if you have something that's chaser, it's an opportunity for growth. Okay? Even if you see that something's missing, that's something that you can feel good about, learning how to get, learning how to learn the skill, acquire the knowledge. Okay? So if you see when you're looking at this inventory things that you might say are wrong with you, that's okay, because everybody has that. And life is about growing. There's something I want to say in response to what Adam said about his experience and about what a couple of other people said about their experiences in the Israeli culture. And I think it's something that really, really needs to be said that will be very helpful. Most of us come from countries, when we make Aliyah, that have a very, very different experience in a number of ways. But there's one particular way that is essentially important to realize when you're speaking, whether it be the Pakid at Misra HaPanim, or it be the person at the bank, or wherever you are, or the teacher in your school, your kid's school. Almost every person in Israel is experiencing symptoms of post-traumatic stress syndrome. Almost every family in Israel has somebody close to them who they've lost in a pigua or in a milchama. And you have to understand that if somebody is choser sablanut, or pushy, or whatever it is, put that in the mix. And realize that they have been here before we made Aliyah, taking the responsibility that there's a Medinat Yisrael, and you have to don the kaf zchut if you want to make it here. That means to judge favorably, to give people the benefit of the doubt. Because you never know what's inside the heart or the traumatized head of the person you're dealing with. I'm now going to say something spiritual. I hope that it's okay. If you can keep in mind in all of your dealings, whether it be with your spouse or your children or the bakery or the bus driver or whomever it is, or even the person who's crazily cutting you off on Kfish Shachad or whatever it is, you have to remember, you don't have to, but if you do, it really helps. Your Tzelem Elokut and their Tzelem Elokut. We're all here in Eretz Yisrael, in Medinat Yisrael, in a very difficult and challenging situation. We're all here because there's a very deep, essential goodness underneath all of the roughness. And that's what a sabra is. Sweet on the inside and kotzim on the outside. You have to get past the kotzim and see the goodness in people. If you're a mirror for their kotzim, it just makes them feel hurt, angry, bitter, resentful. Who the hell are you to treat me this way? I've been through this war and this pigua and this pigua. And a chutzpah do you have? You just got here and never gave you $5,000. You need to take that into account. If you take that into account and you lighten up and you say, you know, we're all, and I was suffering PTSD because we came here at the beginning of the second Intifada, and I saw Piguim every Saturday night after we go to the movies, boom. So you have to put that into the mix, and you have to be coming with sweetness and kindness and positive energy for yourself, for your kids, for your spouse, for the vendor, for the guy who you want to do business with. And yes, there are a lot of people who want to rip you off. But that's true in Los Angeles, it's true in New York, it's true everywhere. You might have higher expectations because Yidden, how can they do that to you? But Madoff is a Jew, you know, what can you do? But you really have to be realistic about it. Okay, and it's very important. And if you do that and see the Gutta Neshama inside, even they might be acting like a total animal, if you can get past that, then life, the quality of your life will be different. And hopefully, if you're feeling good inside, And this is one of the take-home messages. If you feel good inside about being alive and being here and being, if you can wake up in the morning and say, wow, I'm eating an Israeli egg. I'm happy I'm here. Then good things happen. Then people want to do business with you. People want to buy your product. People want to come into your store. Because they feel positive energy. Because the bottom line is that people want to feel good. And if you can be feel-good people and think right, use your shikol da'at in the right way, do the right marketing research, know how to differentiate between a dream and a business, know how to know what the proper timeline is for expectations on a business plan so you don't burn yourself out running after something in a foreign country with a foreign language. You have to take all these things into account, okay? I want to take 30 seconds for us to breathe and do a little exercise, and then I want to go through some material here. So I recommend to everybody, you don't have to, but if you want to, put your feet on the floor, close your eyes, take some deep diaphragmatic breathing, and Baruch Hashem that we're in Eretz Yisrael, that you have a family, that you're here, that this crazy place is providing this wonderful course for you for almost nothing. And let yourself relax. Let yourself bask in whatever you want, the Shekhinah, or your own thinking about being on the beach right now, or being in the arms of your spouse, or seeing the smiles on your kid's face. Go to some internal experience now that you can anchor yourself physiologically to, in your body, in your muscles, in your soul, in your mind, in your feelings. To give yourself permission to know how to be in shlita, how to be in guidance and hashpa'ah of your own internal, emotional, psychological, physical experience. To depend on yourself, to create feelings of calmness, of self-esteem. Think about something good about yourself. You're a nice person for a number of reasons, I'm sure. How you want to do good, how you want to be good, how you are good. Breathe deeply, and when you breathe out, get rid of the schmutz. Let go of the fear. Let go of the fear. And learn how to trust. Because that's the story of Israel. We left Abdud, we had to go through a midbar. If anything is uncertain, the midbar is uncertain. The desert is uncertain. And we're still partly in the midbar. Okay? Now we're going to go over some material to help you to get into the promised land. Here we go. I want to talk about different styles and personality styles of owning a business. Okay? When I say what I'm going to say, you can figure out who you are and see how it affects you. Okay? You need to ask yourself, why are you opening a business? These are psychological questions, as well as practical questions. Are you opening a business to make a lot of money? Well, if you're opening up a business to make a lot of money, how much is a lot of money? Because some people who want a lot of money, it's never enough. Do you know what point you'll be satisfied? Did you pick the right kind of goal? Okay? Did you open up a business because you thought, well, if I open up a business, I'll be happy? I can tell you, 99% of the time, having a successful business will not make you happy. It'll be one of the things, but it's not the core issue. So if all of your eggs of happiness is in your business basket, you're in trouble. It's dangerous. Don't trust it. Because what makes you happy is love. What makes you happy is good relationships and friendship. What makes you happy is being able to have a successful business so you have the money to do things that you enjoy doing. And hopefully you enjoy doing your business also. But just business itself is not the root of happiness. Okay? You want to feel successful. If the reason why you're choosing a certain business is to feel successful, you need to know that business success is only a part of the puzzle of feeling successful. Because if you're doing great at business and making $1 million a day, but your wife and kids don't want to talk to you because they can't stand you, then you don't feel successful. So it's very important to have balance, okay, in terms of success. I mentioned before, if you're opening up a business to be independent, know that with the independence of opening up a business comes a tremendous amount of responsibility. Tremendous amount of responsibility. So you might actually, as Judy was talking before, and you were talking before, being an employee or being an owner, the person who's an employee oftentimes has more independence than the person who's the boss. So you have to take that into account. Okay? Is your business the most important aspect of your life, or is it balance? We're talking about balance with your family and your children and other things. Okay? Are you able to do more than one thing at a time? If you're able to do more than one thing at a time easily, then you can have a product line. But if that's not your personality, you can only focus on one thing at a time, maybe it's better to have one particular service. Okay? So those are some of the issues that I wanted to mention quickly before getting to the fear. Okay. I'm going to mention some of the fears that we have. And I'm going to talk about them. One of the biggest fears is fear of
Failure?
beautiful. Success and failure at the same time. Isn't that right? Isn't that exactly it? We're scared to death to fail, and we're even scared to succeed. Now, isn't that a double message? How can you possibly win if you're scared to fail and scared to succeed? So what do? You're frozen, you're paralyzed. You sit there and you look at your computer, you look at your marketing list, and you do nothing. Okay? So now we're going to look at it. Why is there fear of failure, and why is there fear of success? What do you think is easier to get over?
Failure.
Fear of failure is easy to get over. Why? When a toddler gets up to try to walk and they fall, do they fail? Huh?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, that's it. If the message they get from their parents were, oh, you failed, get up, how come you fell? Then they're going to have a hard time being successful in business. They say, wow, you fell? That's really great. That's part of the process of walking. Huh? How about we had parents like that, right? Instead of coming home with a 98, where are the other 2 points? Right? What is success and failure? Okay, now, fear of success. Why are people fear of success? One reason is because success is so foreign. It's a chayzar. It's like success, what's that? I don't know how to deal with that. And if I'm successful, then maybe all these people have all kinds of expectations of me. Or mechayel l'chayel, it's a bracha, but it's also a curse. Keep hopping. And this Jewish thing of you're only as good as your last performance. So if I gave a great lecture yesterday, I'm nobody today, unless I gave one today. Isn't that the message? And if you do that, you'll be a workaholic and you won't get off your computer after 16 hours. But that's the thing, you see, because success, if success isn't looked at in the right way, it's a curse. Success is, now I'm going to have to take care of everybody else. They don't like because of me, they like because I'm successful. So now I don't even know if anybody really likes me. You have to get past these issues. And if success was trauma for you as a child, because your father was so successful, but he didn't have a minute to be with you, then you're not going to want to be like him. You won't want to be successful on an unconscious level. And a very important message of tonight is that the unconscious messages that we have inside affect our performance in everything, including open up business. Fear of rejection, right? How can I make a cold call? Hi, this is so-and-so. I'd like to do your party next Saturday night. Oh, I have this new product line of baby cream, whatever it is, okay? If you're afraid of rejection on a cold call or going to Misrat HaPriyut to sell your product, how are you going to go? Like this. They're going to say, okay, so what kind of it? They're not so happy about it. How can I be happy about it, right? Do you know that sales, people who are mamash afraid of rejection go into sales so they can be rejected 1,000 times a day, rejected just to get over it, okay? But there are things to do about that, okay? People have to do sales pitches. They have to, and you have to ask somebody to give you your money. What a chutzpah. What? I'm going to ask somebody to give me their money? I feel deserving, okay? If you don't feel deserving, and if you're afraid that you're not deserving, and you know something? I don't think there's such a thing as deserving either. I think deserving is completely a fallacy, just like should. God doesn't even say should in the Bible. God says, if you do this, this is what happens. If you do this, this is what happens. Nobody says you should, you better, you're supposed to. Right?
Merit.
Deserve? No. It's like if a person puts their hand in a fire and it gets burnt, they didn't burn that. They didn't deserve to have their hand burned. And if somebody is doing good things in the world, and they have a good product, and they're putting out a good product or a good service, and people want it, it's because that's life. That's a good, positive thing. If I have something positive to give to you and you want it, and you'd like to do something nice for me, allow me to feed my family, so you're going to pay me, I'm going to give you what you want, we're both happy. And that's a cultural thing that I want to bring up about Israel, I hope you don't mind. Israel is just coming around now to understanding what win-win is in business. And I think it's a thing from the Shoah, actually. That there's been a certain mentality in Israel business that sometimes people think, if you're going to win, somebody's going to have to lose. There's not enough in the pie for everybody. And if you can be in that positive place, and this is the thing about competition, you don't have to fear competition. That's also a big fear. Because if you have something that's uniquely good, then you're not in competition. You might be in competition. Am I going to charge 12 shekel for the falafel or 10 shekel for the falafel? That's competition, okay? But that's not something to be afraid of. That's a market issue of how to decide where your sales point is. But what's important is for you to have the inner confidence that you know that your product is good. Now, if you're an honest person and you have good values and you have a good product, so why shouldn't somebody want it? Of course somebody would want it. Not everybody, and that's okay. Because people who are French don't buy Spanish dictionaries. It's okay. They don't need to. So you want to find what you want to market as being something that people need, and then you don't have to feel deserving. You don't have to worry about feeling deserving that somebody wants to buy it from you, because it's not about you. It's about you have a good product. It's about you have a good service. Okay? Fear of making mistakes. Same thing about failure. You cannot succeed without making a mistake in practically anything you do, because we learn by approximation. How do you learn how to how to set the sight on a gun? You shoot it once, you see where it missed the matara, where it missed the goal, then you adjust the sight based on how off it was from your goal. So it wasn't a mistake. That's how you learn by approximation. If you want to hit a ball with a bat, you learn from approximation. So you don't need to be afraid of making mistakes. Being afraid of being wrong or feeling stupid. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make a mistake. Because we learn from a mistake. That's perfectly okay. And if you make a mistake, it doesn't mean you're stupid. Okay, we're going to wrap it up. What's my 1 minute wrap-up sentence? Okay. My 1 minute wrap-up sentence is, since you wanted me to speak about psychology, connect your head with your heart. If your head and your heart are going in the same direction, if your head and your heart are in the right place, and you use your head to make sure your heart is in a good place, and you use your head to get whatever help you need, whether it be for somebody to help you lift the piano up the stairs to your new apartment, or to get professional help with accounting, with your feelings, with your relationships, whatever it is. Help in marketing research. Help in how to find a good accountant. Judy and I worked together to find an accountant because we had to build networks. Have faith in yourself. Have trust in yourself. If you don't have trust in yourself, make the tikkun that you need to make inside so that you can trust yourself. If you can get to a place of trusting your shikul dat, which means that first, like we said at the beginning, Maslow's hierarchy. If you're totally exhausted, you won't make the right decision. Get the rest you need. Eat the way you need. Have the right relationships. Be happy that you're in Israel. Do things, I don't know if it's politically correct, but I'd say l'shem mitzvah, to the goodness of what you're doing. And I just wish you a lot of bracha and success and hatzlacha. Thank you very much.